Hi and welcome to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about how it was to be at Superbooth 2023. And as I was walking to the event with my two cameras, a lapel mic, I was thinking to myself, should I get myself a press credential or something to be able to interview people? And this was when I thought with myself, wait a second, I'm not a monetized channel. I'm not sponsored by any brands. So I'm gonna go through this event as a participant. And yes, what you will see now is of course based on my personal taste, what I wanted to see in this event, what I thought was cool. So join me and you will get a big summary of all the exhibitions of this big European event. Already in the main hall, you'll find a lot of opportunity to interact with the products. Everything was interactive, you could try it out. It was really an invite to make music and to play around. Here's the view from the second floor of the entrance lobby, and there was also big external areas with different concerts and different things going on at the same time. At the end of this corridor here, you'll find the first tent area, both with exhibitors and also good food back there. It was a very good weather that day, so it was really pleasant to be out. And let me know in the comments how many synth YouTubers you see in that picture. I think everybody was there. This is a glimpse of the second tent area, and there was a lot of music. Live music, live presentations happening spontaneously, even in the middle of the exhibition area. You could enjoy this event in many different ways. It was music happening everywhere, basically. After the entry lobby, you have this big exhibition gym area. And inside the building, a labyrinth that you will stumble upon big brands and new products everywhere you go. I get a chance to try a couple of products, and I regret a little that I have not recorded all the audio from my trials, but in most of the cases you could talk to the people that actually make those devices. Like this one, for instance, it's a small company. You will also stumble upon synthesizers inviting you to play everywhere. But this event was a lot around modular cases, modular brands, prototypes. The Erica Synths booth was super interesting for me, although I'm not a modular expert, but it was nice to see those ones live and try them out. And I was not the only one recording around. But I haven't focused my visit on the last releases and so on, although I was glad to see all the novelties around. And it felt for me a very democratic space. You would see small brands, big brands exhibiting all together, prototypes and final products, handcrafted stuff, side by side. This was really cool, and a lot of unusual stuff like this flute MIDI controller and conceptual stuff going on. I really like these MIDI controller modules here that you could connect the magnets and make your software more tangible, more like a hardware synth. And you could see all the latest YouTube video gear everywhere. But it felt for me very personal, since all these small companies had their engineers out there talking to the public. They were not selling this to businessmen, they were actually showing to their customers, and super nice people answering your questions and basically excited about their products, their ideas, right? Some of the devices were like really small modules, prototypes and parts that you could do it yourself. But you also have like brands that you normally don't find at the stores in stock to try out. The booth from Soma was a good example of this. Like, I really spent some time trying their different synthesizers, their different form factors, and interesting ideas on how to interact with the music and synthesis. Einer was one example that I would probably not find in a store to try it out, right? And it was super friendly. I mean, you are surrounded with people that has the same interests as you do. But like I said, it felt personal because the designers and the developers of these devices were there. So more than products or objects of desire, this was actually made by people. I asked the Game Changer audio engineer how many they were, and he answered they were 12 people. And he was explaining how the motor engine works, and it was a lot around using physical sound generators with optic sensors and magnetic sensors. And while talking about the synthesizer features and explaining to me how it worked, he talks about some happy accidents that happened while discovering these new types of medias and unexpected things, just like we as musicians will find while interacting with these instruments, but also how the instrument creators' creative process works, right? So he explained to me that they had this unexpected outcome when combining the optic method with the magnetic method to generate sound from the engines, that they got to a wobbliness or analog effect, and how this can take you out of your musical comfort zone and inspire you as well. I had to try all this gear that we see on YouTube, but like I was saying, it felt really personal. This was a genuine interaction with the creators of these instruments that we like so much, right?
That's a sonic discovery that we didn't even thought
of. I had to try all the studio electronics big modules, things that you never find on the store because of the price and availability and so on. This looks really like handicrafted instruments and sound like it. But for me, this was one of the high moments in my visit to the Superbooth, seeing prototypes not only from small companies but also from big companies like Korg. They were explaining this concept of a physical synthesizer that they have been developing in Berlin, and they had this very creative way of showing how their metallic resonator deforms and generates different overtones, and how they developed around this idea of having an acoustic sound generator vibrating in multiple frequencies at the same time. It was interesting that they were actually not working with harmonics, but they have chosen overtone frequencies to emphasize the metallic texture of their resonator. Here it is how it vibrates in all of its modes, and this kind of tuning fork was designed geometrically so that they know exactly which frequencies they are generating there. Another amazing idea was to use an electromagnetic exciter that works like a hammer in an electric piano, but this magnetic hammer never physically touches the metallic resonator. And he explains later that more than this, they can actually use this electromagnetic exciter pretty much like an E-bow would work for a guitar. So they can sustain specific frequency vibrations, they can control and modulate the different modes that this resonator will vibrate. Therefore, they can actually make synthesis from an acoustic resonator. And all these ideas build up on existing technology. So he explained that to convert the mechanical movement into audio again, they use something similar as a condenser microphone. But they designed the specific geometry of these pickups and resonator to pick up the frequencies that they already know that this resonator can produce, right? So they excite the metal electronically, the metal resonates mechanically, and the pickups will convert the mechanical movement back to an electric signal, and this is when they can do all the synthesis process. He have explained that the resonator is a similar alloy to a harmonica actually. And I must say that the audience was doing very well educated questions. So synth consumers must be a very hard audience to talk with. But not for these guys at Korg. They not only knew a lot about what they were developing and doing, but they were passionate about it. So that's what I mean, that it was a personal experience, because these are the engineers, these are the folks having these ideas and developing the concepts that we love so much. It was not a brand, it was not a commercial marketing things. You were talking with these crafters of this art, and they allowed us to mess a little bit with the prototype. You can see there that those triggers will trigger all the individual resonators, and they were encouraging us to interact mechanically with the synthesizer. It was super cool. Well, I continue my journey from booth to booth, stopping here and there for a product that I was interested about, but by this time my step counter was already high, so I was skipping a few devices. But Nina was one of those that I was expecting to find there. I needed to try this idea of not only having a panel that really represents all of your digital patches, but also try all the tactile feeling of having these motors changing the behavior of these knobs depending on which program you have. And all the technology is based on these brushless motors. Again, with an optical sensor, you can see the gradient there around the motor to measure where the motor is. Real cool technology, and it sounded great. The GR1 is also one of those machines that you probably don't find in a store to try it out. I definitely recommend you going to those fair trade shows where you can actually try out the gear before buying, you know. And you can find those instruments that you only see on the internet, like this glass friction keyboard. Also some relics and rare stuff. This one you were not allowed to touch. Only on the MIDI controller. You could play and listen to it. And you also meet people. I actually found Kim, the author of the book that I was telling you about in my previous video. And I also met Mike here, who walked me through his book, telling super interesting stories of finding the people to interview and how it was to talk to all these people. This was a guy that I really wanted to have a beer and sit to listen to his stories for sure. I continue to try out looking for the big brands. But these guys, this was what I was waiting for the whole event. I needed to try and play in the OB6. That's my new obsession. This is the synth that I'm aiming for, and be able to sit there and play it no matter how much YouTube reviews you watch. There's nothing that can be better than this. And of course, being in that room, I could not resist to try the Prophet, which is probably beyond my budget, but I was just like a kid in a candy store. There's no better way to describe the feeling of this booth here. And I mean the X8, why not? But the OB6, guys. The OB6. One day you will be mine. But here's a tip for you guys. Many of the experienced Superbooth people, they came up with their own headset. Next time, I think I would try to also capture audio from all these trials, because I realized while editing this video that I missed a lot to show you all the soundscapes. But my point was not to make a reveal on this or that gear. There are already very good videos out there for you to check it out. What I wanted to give you was like really this overview of what kind of gear was there, what kind of spaces there was. But I was getting tired, and then I thought I would check if there is some live music going on. But by this time my feet were killing me already, so I bravely went to enjoy some music with the final energy that was left, but I decided that it was time to catch my train and go rest at this time. So I got out of the exhibition area, went all the way to the music back there, and then went towards my train. This was when I found out that there was another area out there. I was quite lucky to get there and still find something. I even have a chance to jam in one of these with another synth enthusiast and saw these beautiful sounding transducer resonators. So you ask me, Superbooth 2023, was it worth it? For sure the best window shopping a synth enthusiast can wish for. I hope I could give you a taste of how it was like to be at Superbooth. And as always, thanks for watching.